Jazzcast Pros.
Hey there, it's Derria with Declutter Empress Radio. In this episode for Black History Month, I want to talk about something that often gets overlooked, decluttering, especially from a perspective that honors our heritage and the sentimental value we attach to things. Decluttering doesn't mean becoming a minimalist like me. For many of us, our belongings hold deep stories, connections, and memories, but it doesn't mean we can't create a cozy and functional space. So today, let's bust that myth and dive into practical ways to declutter our home while staying warm and well during these chilly winter months. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Declutter Empress Radio Podcast, a podcast to help you create a functional space wherever you roam. I am your host, Derria, and today we will discuss how to make your home your oasis. Hello, everyone. How we doing out there? Are you warm and cozy? We're right smack dab in the middle of winter, and it's cold, y'all. I know I looked outside and I thought that I was going to go out and get my package, but when I headed to the door and I looked out, I saw what appeared to be an ice skating rink outside of my front door, and I just said, no, thank you. That package will wait. I am not trying to freeze my buns off in this freezing cold. How are you coping? Do you have your cup of hot cocoa and tea or coffee? I know that some of us, we do live in places where winter gets seriously real, especially in the Midwest. And we're talking blizzards, freezing temperatures, and those shorter days that good old daylight savings time brings. But for some of us, it's more than just a weather shift. It brings foggy memories or maybe even seasonal depression. So that's why now, during this time, is the best time to take care of yourself. And this definitely ties into decluttering. So think of it this way. We're hibernating, right? Okay, I shouldn't say we, I am. So if we're hibernating, why not get our home feeling just the way we want to feel inside? Because our space tells a lot about who we are, and how you want to feel is important because it's all about what brings you comfort. And there's no better time than now to cozy up and prep your oasis space, whether that means wrapping yourself up in warm blankets or keeping that chunky knit sweater out. And you can even lay that knit sweater out over your sofa or chair just as a permanent decor. There are no rules. Or you can give your apartment or living room a little winter refresh. And remember, decluttering doesn't mean everything has to look like it's straight out of a magazine. It's just not about white walls or perfectly curated splashes of color. There's no need to overthink it. No need. Because decluttering, it isn't about bare walls. It's about expressing yourself without being bombarded by stuff that's not functional for you. This is your space. Design it for how you want to feel. Now, the holidays, they mean a lot to me. It's nostalgia. And I really thought a lot about it, especially during this time of year. I began to think about the sentimental items that I have, which to someone else could seem like clutter. And I tie this in deeply to Black culture because honestly, this hits home for a lot of us. Our history, it has so much to do with holding on to things because for so long, we weren't able to keep anything. We take a collection of things and we hold on to them because they're important to us because we know that our ancestors, due to enslavement, everything was taken from them. From those who survived, they couldn't keep their customs. So now it brings us to today where there is absolutely nothing wrong with hanging on to those things that we hold dear and have been passed down. We love colors. We love collections. And what are those collections? Well, they tell stories about love and how far we've come, the resilience that we have. And I want to share a personal story with you today. Growing up, my parents had this funky orange living room set. This sofa set, I don't know where they got it from, but it was so bold and beautiful when I think back to it. And naturally, this orange living room set, it was velour material. Imagine that. And I was reminded of this by my sister who last year said, you know what, I want an orange living room set. And she was sending me pictures and I said, oh, you mean like the one we used to have back in the day? I'm like, those were funky. And before we just thought, these are crazy colors. But it was bold and it was beautiful. And of course, back then, my parents had plastic over the couch to keep it nice and pretty. And so no one could go in the living room. But we had this TV room and we had to have TV in there and eat and all of that if we weren't eating at the table, at the dining room table. So it was like, no, you stay here. And I never got it because I was like, well, it is the living room, but no one was allowed to eat in there. It was only for viewing and that's it. We laughed a lot. And even my sister and I, we would play in there when we weren't in our shared room. Our shared room was always overflowing with toys. So much that my grandmother used to call it Toys R Us. And she would joke with my parents and say, give some of that away. But my parents just weren't having it. They weren't having it. And I think back and think that this was a way of my parents giving us what they may not have had when they were growing up. So those toys and that funky orange set, they weren't just things. They were symbolic of, I want to give what I didn't have to my children. And that's a big part of our culture. We collect what matters. And these items, they make us feel warm, they make us feel loved, they make us feel accomplished. But then on the other hand, I think a lot of it comes from a scarcity mindset, something that's deeply rooted in the emotional and psychological effects of enslavement, the Jim Crow era, and other economic barriers. And let's be real. I want to be real for a minute. We're not so far removed from these challenges even today. And that is why we treasure what we have and why it's okay to hold on to things that connect us to our history and family. So whether it's a pendant, whether it's an instrument, whether it's a collection of purses, gym shoes, whatever it is, it's what connects us. It's what brings us together. And that's why I can't stress enough that it's all about expressing ourselves and making your space feel good. I often talk about sentimental clutter. I think I've talked about this in several episodes over the past several years. And I want to be clear that it's fine to let go of things, even if you take a picture of it or even give it to a sibling or another relative. It's perfectly okay. It's okay to keep those precious items that our ancestors and our loved ones have passed down because they remind us of our strength and our depth and our roots. They run deep. They run deep. So I'm going to leave you with that today. So as you sip on your favorite cup of tea or coffee, take a moment to think about your space. Remember that it's yours. Create an oasis, whether it's a corner, a room, or your entire home. It's where you feel safe and where you feel warm and where you can restore your energy this winter because it's a lot. Winter can give you the blues because we're all inside trying to stay warm. Seasonal depression is a real thing, And when it comes to us as Black people, especially being a Black woman, there's a misnomer that we don't experience pain and that we're strong enough to bear it, which is not true. During this time of season, we can experience mood changes, low energy, and the feeling to just hibernate, which can often lead to isolation. So today, I want to give you 5 actionable ways that you can put into place to be on your way to wellness during this chilly time of year. The first way is to create comfort zones. You know that favorite corner of your house that you often flock to? It could be a place where you cozy on up to read your book, meditate, or just about anything, really. It's just your favorite place. And over there, you could have your favorite blanket, a throw pillow, maybe a lamp, or even your favorite scented candle. The second way is to repurpose with creativity. I want you to do this because I want you to use what you already own. I don't want you going out buying anything, especially during this cold time. I want you to use what you have. So how will you do this? For blankets, layer those small throws over a piece of furniture, a chair, whatever you have to add coziness. And then when you're all done, you can stack it in a corner horizontally. This is really cute, especially if they're multicolors. Because you remember when we were kids, when we used to make pallets, put out a blanket on the floor, throw those pillows on there, big or small, it doesn't matter, even if it comes from your bedroom. Have fun with it. Make that pallet and put a movie on. Now, if you have a pet, because you know our pets need love too, you can use an old blanket to create a pet bed by folding and placing it in a box or a basket when you're done. Also, you can turn a sentimental blanket into a do-it-yourself project too. You can hang it on the wall, or you can take that blanket and you can also have that as a place of decoration. Just something as a reminder to you of how much you're loved and the good memories it brings as well. Another way under repurposing is books. You can repurpose your books to look good. So you don't necessarily need a shelf. If you don't have a shelf, you can stack these books in corners or along a wall to create a makeshift shelf or a nightstand. And you can use them as risers for plants or lamps. And you can even pair it with your favorite vase or even a trinket so you can create that statement piece. Another way to recreate your space is to play your favorite board or card games. If you have a bunch of board games that are in the closet or somewhere just randomly around, bring those board games and card games out and play them. Play them with your kids. If you're by yourself, you can even have a virtual game night or day, virtual meetups and game sessions. We've got the technology to do all of this, so we're going to make the most of it. And when you're all done with those board games, guess what? Store them neatly in a corner, stack them up just like you do your books. They're part of your room's decor. It's yours. It's your space. You're making it as functional as possible without going out to buy a bunch of stuff. Now, the third way to create a functional space for you is to bring in light and warmth. We want to consume as much light as we can. We want to soak in all of that vitamin D, especially being as though we are melanated people and we need that light. So what I will do is I'll often sit next to the window to soak up the sun because seasonal affective disorder is a thing. And we want to make sure that we can get that sunlight when we can. If you can't catch the sunlight, even changing the bulb on a lamp to a lower wattage can make a big difference. Because I cannot stand a fluorescent light. Sometimes that 60-watt bulb just does not do the trick. A fourth way is to have small celebrations. while you're inside, you can create mini events for yourself, like a movie marathon. For example, I binged just this weekend The Upshaws on Netflix. Mike Epps and Kim Fields are hilarious, and it's set right here in Hoosierland, so I'm here for it, but it was hilarious. And the fifth way is to cozy on up to some warm recipes that have been handed down through the generation. Now, one of my favorites is a pound cake. I baked one like a few weeks ago because it's winter, it's cold, and I just need something to pep me up because the sun is setting and I need that. So it just makes me feel good. So whether it's mom's favorite peach cobbler or banana pudding, I can taste it now. These are the things that warm your heart. So in essence, you want to find what brings you joy and lifts your mood. And I just want to encourage you to take some time for yourself, be gentle with yourself, and make the most of your home reflections of who we are and who we want to be. Thank you so much for listening. I want to hear what you're doing to create a cozy space for yourself this winter. Let me know in the comments. And until next time, take great care of yourselves and live clutter-free. I'll talk with you soon.